Then I welcome our principal, Dr. A.S. Varadarajan, to this function. He is always with us, giving encouragement in all our endeavors. Welcome you, sir. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Abdul Majid, SB Vice Chair and the Program Coordinator of this function. I welcome the design team and student volunteers to this event. Finally, I welcome all HODs, faculty, staff, and student participants who are present here to this program. Let me conclude with a quote by George Bernard Shaw. Progress is impossible without change, and those who can't change their minds can't change anything. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words.
Now, I request our dear Principal, Dr. A.S. Varadarajan, to convey the presidential address.
Am I audible to you? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Respected Chief Guest, Professor Kathleen, Kramer, Director and Secretary, IEEE 2020. Guest of Honor, MSc IEEE Kerala Section, Professor C.P.O. Sarada Jayakrishnan, Secretary. Branch Counselor, IEEE SB MESC, Dr. Tasmin Fatima. Design Lead, IEEE SB MESc, Mr. Basil Aziz. Vice Chair, IEEE SB MESc, Mr. Rafsa of the departments. My dear colleagues, beloved students, very good afternoon to all of you. Or very good evening to all of you. I am very glad to associate myself with the logo launching ceremony of IEEE Student Branch of our institution with an inaugural address on Thinking Like an Engineer, Perspectives on Pandemic Problems by Professor Kathleen, Kramer, Director and Secretary, IEEE 2021, to throw light on the priorities of the IEEE in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, apart from its regular activities in line with its mission and mission. Professional societies like IEEE that have a very special role in combating COVID-19 pandemic. This is by way of focusing their professional expertise towards the development of new normal technologies for the activities in the day-to-day life, like the use of mask, prevention of preservation of hands hygiene, and maintenance of social distancing. Moreover, IEEE has its own role in developing professionalism and attributes as desired by the job providers worldwide. Globalization of job market has tremendously increased the job openings. There are number of opportunities around, but to be able to grab an opportunity, the knowledge acquired within the boundaries of the syllabus alone is not sufficient. It should be reinforced with additional skill sets as needed by the job provider. As per the latest report of the ICT, in India, 15 lakh students come out from various branches of engineering in our country. And this number is actually greater than the number of engineering graduates coming out from the US and the China put together. According to the survey by NASSCOM, it is also reported that only 17.5% of the graduates are employable. In the field of software and IT sector, the employability is 18.43, whereas in other branches, it is as low as that enable them to apply their domain knowledge in their domestic as well as professional life. This factor assumes lot of importance for one's survival in the globalized job market, as a situation has emerged in which there can be competition from overseas for a job opening in one country. Students can acquire some of the professional skill sets from the institution itself when they do their projects, seminars, and industrial visits. But the major chunk of such skill sets should come from association with the professionals and the professional bodies like IEEE and programs under their auspices. Professional bodies like IEEE are considered as external stakeholders by the NBA or in the outcome-based education also. In fact, IEEE chapter can act as a platform for acquiring such skill sets. It is considered as one of the most acclaimed professional bodies in the world. A membership in IEEE Student Branch can do immense good to the students for their overall development. IEEE chapter can facilitate invited talks, seminars, paper presentations, and a host of other activities that will go a long way in developing their professional skill sets. It can also pave way for association with other institutions and members in other countries. Sometimes membership in professional bodies like IEEE even be thought of as a vocation. All the programs of the MESC have got accredited by NBA, and recently the Department of Civil Engineering, Computer Science and Engineering, Department of IEEE, and the Department of Mechanical Engineering got re-accredited for 3 years. NBA has identified 12 graduate attributes which form the outcome base that are expected from the engineers engineering undergraduates by the job providers, according to which graduates should be good in domain knowledge and must be able to analyze problems and design solutions. They must possess the capability to investigate complex problems using modern tools. They should respond to the needs of the society and must be conscious of the necessity for preserving the environment. They must practice professional ethics in all walks of their life and must be capable of individual and teamwork. They must be good in communication and they must be able to manage projects and finance and should have a flair for lifelong learning. I am sure that the programs organized by IEEE will address many of the above mentioned graduate at 6 societies and 1 affinity group. And I am sure that the new logo being launched will bring in lot of vigor and enthusiasm among the members, triggering number of activities. I take up this opportunity to appreciate the efforts of the IEEE Students Branch in making this program a success and the efforts taken by the branch counselor, Professor Tasmin Fatima. I also thank Professor Kathleen, Kramer, Director and Secretary IEEE 2021, Mrs. Sarada Jayakrishnan, Chair IEEE Kerala Section, and the Secretary MESC Kuttipuram, Professor P.O.J. Lebba, for spending their valuable time with us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that enthusiastic talk. As a small token of appreciation from our side, we will be presenting a memento to sir now.
Okay. Let us invite our Honorable Secretary, Professor P.O.J. Lebba, to address the gathering.
Our distinguished President of today's function, Principal Dr. Varadaraj, and our chief guest, Professor Kathleen Kramer, Director and Secretary of IEEE 2021. Then Ms. Sarada Jayakrishnan, Chairperson, IEEE Kerala, and of course, Dr. Tasneem Fatima, then of course, Basil Aziz, Abdul Majid, and my dear distinct other participants. I have great pleasure to be a part of this important function program organized by the IEEE Branch Students Council section of the MES College of Engineering. See, the event is becomes very important and also great, I should say, by the presence of a person like Kathleen Kramer. It is a real honor to have such a distinguished personality to release the logo. I actually congratulate the organizers in getting Professor Kathleen for this function. Similarly, I'm happy that Ms. Sarada Jayakrishnan, the chairperson, Chair IEEE, is participating in this program. And of course, from the initial talk from Tasneem Fatima, because you must have learned that our student chapter of IEEE has done wonders, because it has a very creditable record of activities, because in many awards have been won by the chapter, and I'm sure that many more are yet to come. And today, our distinguished guest is speaking on a very relevant subject, that thinking like an engineer on perspectives of pandemic problem. Because of the pandemic problem, we are forced to have all online meetings only. But in a way, it is good to have online meetings. Otherwise, you will not be able to get Kathleen Kramer for our function. So there is an advantage of having an online meeting. But anyway, we are hoping to have offline meetings or physical meetings at the earliest. Because of the pandemic situation, we are trying to see that it is kept under control. And of course, IEEE, I don't have to mention anything great about IEEE, because it is very well known. It's the world's one of the largest professional societies giving human service to the profession. But very many branches in the emerging areas, then also new generation programs, subjects, etc. So here I don't want to take your time for my speech, because you are anxiously waiting to listen to Kathleen Kramer for her address. So I only express my sincere appreciation and happiness to be with you, at least for a few minutes. And also, I appreciate the efforts taken by the Student Branch Counselor and also the other office bearers of the IEEE Student Section. May I wish all success for this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. As a small token of appreciation, we will be presenting a memento to sir now.
Let us hear from the esteemed guest of honor, Professor Kathleen Kramer.
Thank you.
Let us hear from the esteemed guest of honor, Professor Kathleen Kramer, Director and Secretary of IEEE. Professor Kramer did her MS and PhD in Electrical Engineering from California Institute of Technology. She is a distinguished lecturer for IEEE Aerospace and Electronic Systems Society. Her technical interests include multi-sensor data fusion and applications of neural and fuzzy systems, and she has more than 100 publications to her credit. Besides being IEEE Secretary, she is very actively involved in Women in Engineering and Young Professional Society. Professor Kramer will be delivering a talk on the topic, Thinking Like an Engineer, Perspectives on Pandemic Problems.
So I hope I'm presenting my screen and that it's the right size.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, perfectly visible.
And so, Yeah, so this lecture is entitled Electronics and Systems Engineering, with the emphasis on engineering, and perspectives on pandemic problems. And here I've received such a lovely introduction from my organizers. But when I give this presentation on Tuesday, for the combined group, half the group will not have met me before, and half the group will be my students. And so here's a little bit on me. And as you've mentioned, I'm a professor of electrical engineering at the University of San Diego. And so there's some pictures here. That is, you can see me in the lower left. That's my campus. And so University of San Diego is quite a beautiful campus. It's known on some lists, it's the most beautiful campus in the United States. And there is the upper left picture is myself at a conference that was held at a hotel near my campus. And the rest of the people in the picture are not from my campus. They're just local IEEE section people. And my LinkedIn tagline is advancing technology for humanity on many fronts. And that's because I try to have that reflected in all that I do. And in purple here, I put Collaborate LLC faculty. And if you're thinking when I say Collaborate LLC faculty that you have no idea what I am referring to, that is completely understandable, because there's no way that you could already have experienced this unless you were in my class in the past week. But I will move on. And when I say LLC, that refers to a living learning community. And this is definitely not invented at my university, but it is the way that the university is organized. We're a residential campus. And all 1,200 of the first-year students are expected to live on campus, with a few exceptions that you can get a waiver. A few people can get waivers, such as if you live right near campus, for example. But in general, we want our incoming first-year students to be organized into living learning communities, so that they live together, go to class together, have events together, and bring students together who care about the same issues. And we have these little symbols, and the purple one is for Collaborate. And each of the symbols represents a different LLC, and it has a different theme. And so my Collaborate theme, which I did not invent, it was more that if you are interested in participating as a faculty member in a living learning community, you apply as to which theme means the most to you, and that you could integrate into the learning experience for your students. And so I am a member of the Civic Engagement Collaborate theme. I will apologize for, they have themed the LLCs. They think it's very important to have a single word for each LLC. So they all have names like Illuminate, Advocate, Collaborate. They all have names like that. So the Collaborate theme is really civic engagement leading to participatory democracy, being active and involved in work that addresses needs and resolve problems faced by the community. We learn from one another and work side by side. And so the interesting living learning community part of this is that students come to my university with no major. And so all the students together. And so in this living learning community, there's a faculty member or two from biology, from media studies, from physics, from English literature, from mathematics, from art, from theology, from economics, and one, myself, from engineering. And so we have organized these integration panels, and the whole goal is to make connections across the discipline. And so I am presenting today to a very esteemed and technical audience, but I might be presenting on Tuesday to an audience of would-be theology and art majors. And so the idea is for each of the sides to be presented. And so the very first of these integration panels will be with myself, presenting a perspective on how to think like an engineer alongside Dr. Greg Prieto, who's a sociology professor. And he is going to bring the sociology mindset to the same issues. And so this lecture is intended to share with you those perspectives. And I can't fairly present Dr. Prieto, but I can, anybody that writes me, I'll point you to a recording of him. And he was pretty keen to invite you to the talk, but I don't want to bring you all over there. So my goal here is to consider the ECE disciplinary view, and we use the pandemic. So bring the connections together, and how can we think like an engineer? And so if you take a step back and, what is engineering? And here's a very non-technical answer. This is actually from study.com. And so not written for a technical person. And engineering is technical, professional, scientific. It's a field and a profession. It involves taking our scientific, mathematical, and technical understanding of the natural world and using it to invent, design, build things to solve problems. The emphasis is mine, solve problems to achieve practical goals. And my collaborate theme that I need to connect engineering to is civic engagement, leading to participatory democracy, but being active and involved in work that addresses needs and resolves problems faced by the community. So both of these are about solving problems. And in fact, as an engineer, you could contend any problems that people solve. Well, you're really trying to be an engineer because as we know, although science is important, the purpose of science is to understand, not necessarily to solve a problem. Looking at it perhaps from the reverse point of view, engineering itself has a social context. And it's one I've noticed that your student branch is very aware of and is quite prominent on your website. Engineering interconnects with society, culture, and human behavior, every product or construction of modern society. Each and every one is influenced by engineering. Engineering activity influences and changes the environment, society, and whole economies. The application brings with it, because of that, a high social responsibility and need to have concern for the public, ethics, and safety. Here in the blue boxes that you might see as we proceed through the talk, these are questions that a student attending this lecture at the University of San Diego would be asked later to answer that question. And so that's the blue box is the key. Oh, I should be able to answer that question. I'm just giving you that prompt. And so thinking about it together, what problems have ECE? So I'm saying ECE, electrical computer engineering, electrical engineering. And I have at the side here some various aliases or perhaps names that we might disguise ourselves by. in engineering, electronics engineering, computer engineering, electrical engineering, communications engineering, avionics engineering. And, but all of our field, the IEEE fields of interest, advances in the technologies for electric power, computing, communication, and controls are all sort of our area, our very broad area. But if you look at the most transforming technical advances of humanity, how many of these are IEEE areas of interest of this list? And so you could question my list, and I would welcome if anybody has a better list, because I look pretty hard for a good list. And every list, there's different lists, but in the end, all of them have this overwhelming dominance. And it reflects the overwhelming dominance of the electrical and computer fields in the advances in the last 50 years. Have there been advances in mechanical and chemical and other types of engineering? Certainly there have. Are they essential to advances? Yes, but the themes themselves and the underlying enabling technology is very much and in the IEEE fields of interest, as you can see. So, and looking in terms of research today, there's research in many, many fields, but where are the most interesting problems and the most interesting advancements? And so all of you can congratulate yourselves on being in the right place to be, I would say. So going back to pointing out the blue box, so a question that you might want to be able to answer is how, if you're looking at it and thinking like an engineer, is how would an ECE go about tackling questions like in this case of our topic, like COVID? What would be our pandemic perspective, perhaps different than somebody else's? And what assumptions do we have? What facts do we presume or use? And what approaches? And so one approach that all engineers, including the ECEs, often use is the engineering design process. I remember when I first became a faculty member, I was quite surprised to have it explained to me that it is design that fundamentally differentiates the engineer from everybody else in the universe. And this engineering design process, which virtually all students have to do some kind of senior project, and they have to do some kind of addressing of the design process. And so you'll have steps that look like this. And so you can, Google and search, and you can find some different design processes, but they all have very similar steps. And sometimes they're looking more like a circle, and sometimes they're looking like a cycling iterative flow chart. But in the end, our approach to problems is very often relating back to these steps. And we start with like, what is the problem? And in defining the problem, we care about who are we solving for, and we're looking for a problem to solve. And then we would research it, and we'd want to come up with alternative solutions, and we'd be very driven to select the right solution, the best solution, the most efficient solution. And then we'd actually want to get something to work. And then anyone who's had a long-term difficult project would know, and I'm sure our esteemed section chair knows, that when you do a hard problem, when you solve a hard problem, it doesn't work the first time. Like, you wish it would work the first time, but any complex solution is going to require iteration and improvement to do better. And then you have essentially nothing at all. Like, all that work you can do, in this case, I've listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps that you could be iterating. So over and over again, if you fail to communicate those results successfully, then it has all come to naught. It is all nothing. And hence our emphasis on the importance of communication. In the United States, we have many people choose to major in engineering because their English is not their strength. And so they think to themselves, I'm going to major in engineering because I don't need to have strong English skills. If I major in engineering, I'll just be good at math, or I'll just be good at science. And no one who's successful in their career will agree with that opinion, but it is a common approach. And certainly engineering has the greatest number of non-native English speakers, and if at my university, if they were not forced to take the non-technical classes, I think they would not volunteer to take them. But my particular institution, we have the only required dual degree in the United States, and I suspect in the world. And so our students have to earn a Bachelor of Science, but they also have to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree. And that's based on probably about twice as much liberal arts as you would normally see in an engineering degree. And this, at the initial hiring into industry, they will typically not expect so much in terms of communication skills from a new graduate. But where it makes the real difference is when you move up. And so the higher up you move, the more responsible you are for advocating for projects, the more important your communication skills become. And so looking back to our whole topic here, so looking and thinking like an engineer, and I will point out the blue box. What are the assumptions? What are the different challenges that come with our engineering mindset? And so based on our approach to solving problems, and when confronted with COVID, the response of an engineer is, how can I help? And I'm a problem solver. And in fact, we would tend to look for where is a problem to fix, to look to solve a problem, but I'm underlining where is a problem that I can solve. So we have a natural tendency that we want the problem to fit into the boxes of solutions that we know how to offer. It gives us control, or a feeling of control. And so our natural response is, what techniques from my strength and expertise can I apply to help? How do I understand? Like, what is my understanding? So my own discipline gives us a drive for practical goals and it's about sound judgment. And so for me in particular, with my type of research, I really am interested in data and the models and the methods. And I'm very much a theory person. Other people are more practical. So I like practical, but I like to understand the theory of how things work. And so as engineers, we want to see what is really working. So what can you test? That's an important step for us. And then in terms of the context, safety, ethics, and concern for the public are major drivers of everything an engineer does. And certainly for COVID, there's no exception at all, just the opposite. It's also in practical matters, an awareness of risk and the need to manage risk in an intelligent way. And this is almost a unique skill to engineers. And then there's also a fundamental context for most of us is that we see technology as a solution, sometimes as the solution. And so our methods, our ideas, inspiration, applying science and knowledge but the technology is what we expect to be the solution, or that's our natural bias that it is. And so I gave this talk a year ago, and that was reflecting the state of COVID at that time. And so for this San Diego audience, I had some examples to give a year ago. And remember, so my university is the University of San Diego. So USD professors make open source ventilators. USD engineers 3D printing face masks. General Atomics, which is a company you perhaps have heard of, but it's a San Diego-based company. And so they were working on a point of care molecular diagnostic platform to give instant testing. So those were some examples of engineering type solutions. Oops. And here's 1 year old, which I found these solutions a year ago were more interesting to me. And the notion of applying AI, because I apply AI in my work, and looking for larger patterns and image analysis methods, machine learning, and the one, like a year later, the one I still stand by that I see as largely failed to have. There's no reason for it not to have occurred, but I think it has largely failed to occur. To predict and monitor the spread of the disease based on factors. I think that there's data, and it's interesting to me what's not being done with the data more than what's being done with the data. So this was the big idea a year ago, and which is essentially contact tracing through big tech. And that was last year. And so the headline that the more recent headline is, that was the big idea last year. Why haven't they helped at all? And it's interesting from an engineering point of view to be aware, and we are engineers, of like what really hasn't worked at all and what has failed. So looking in terms of some solutions, and I want to give my credit to coronavirus. How can society thrive post-pandemic? I think at least two of these I was inspired by them. So I put some quotes on those. And so a year ago, there was a panic and a conflict over testing, protective equipment, global supply chains, and this article, low-income countries found themselves at the back of the queue. And then, to my observation, there was lockdown solutions, and I'll put the double quotes on solutions. So some of them have been solutions, and some of them have been less than solutions. And my prediction a year ago was that I saw a major opportunity in technology that was neglected. And so the computer technology, the AI technology, that gets a lot of attention. And there's a lot of quick change in technology. In air circulation, it's been almost the opposite. And so when we talk about air circulation, that's definitely outside of my own field of interest. But to my observation, think about how it works. And at least in the US, they have building codes that require circulation to meet certain minimum standards. And after that, after those codes were created, everybody involved in the process is really a technician, not an engineer. They're not designing anything. And so when you don't have people that design and understand how the system works, they are only essentially putting it in place and operating it. The people that are hiring others to put it in place and operate it are motivated entirely by delivering a solution at the lowest cost. And so there is literally zero motivation by anybody involved, except for those who proactively have an interest in the well-being of those in the buildings, to deliver an air circulation that's more than what the public safety codes require. And there's no incentive to increase what's required to meet better standards or to change the standards. And so it has created an interesting problem. And I would point to that as one of the major underlying reasons for some of the worst cases of sort of more fatal outbreaks. And it's not tracked well, because we don't have any means of differentiating on a larger data basis between what type of system was in place in that building. And then having people stay sedentary indoors and rely on these older ventilation systems. It's also led to obesity, anxiety, social isolation. So depending upon your society, and I live with my husband and we have 3 children, and I have a very involved professional life with many people. But what about people that were living singly on their own? In this sort of lockdown environment, that could be a very lonely environment. Domestic violence, disproportionate impacts on the poor, and observably different case and death rates. So here, going back to the data, but a lack of measurement-driven solutions that have been made worse by innumeracy, and I'm using the word innumeracy as a counterpart to illiteracy. So people can read, but there are many people who are not good at math. They're making decisions that rely upon math. And so it's unfortunate that so few engineers are making those higher level decisions, frankly. Now, vaccines, extensively distributed in many countries, show order of magnitude positive effects. Observably different case and death rates, but again, a failure to measure where you're best. And this reaction, at least in the United States, of fear, because people are reacting from their fear rather than having a thoughtful, knowledge-based reaction, and it doesn't bring out the best. And another, so I would say the most, for those of us who are technical professionals or would be technical professionals, and as the professor, our Mr. Secretary noted at the beginning, I wouldn't be here if not for the pandemic. And so there was, about 18 months ago, a complete transformation in online meetings. So we transformed the world of work and the world of events, particularly in our fields, and to cleaner working. But I was traveling. I was actually in Lima, Peru at the Region 9 meeting when the pandemic hit my institution. And my first trip was just 2 weeks ago since that time. And so I am video conferencing all the time. So I had been invited 3-4 years ago. I had been invited to a major event in India, and I just could not come. I looked it up, and it was a 22-hour trip each way on the plane, and an expensive trip. And so it would not be possible for me, even though I really wanted to come. It would take a minimum of a week to go for one day of a conference. And so that's a truly transformational. And that's where we've seen, again, it's our area of work where real things work really quickly. Going back to the engineering mindset, though, the engineers are supposed to apply methods and use judgment, including risk assessment. And it's really badly out of whack. So sometimes when we're met with challenges, and it's definitely true for engineers, that our response to challenges is we want to solve the problem. And so we're motivated by concern for the public. And so these challenges can elicit greatness from us, truly. On the other hand, fear can bring out our worst selves. And it's often, and sometimes in our personal lives, we found that there's certain people that just don't bring out the best in us. And, my best advice to when I advise students is, if that's the case, don't hang around with those people. You want to hang around with people that are people you admire and that are going to bring out the very best in you. But when you have a society that is so fearful, it's very difficult to avoid bringing out that dark side of yourself. And so certainly we all want to be aware of that need to respond with greatness to the challenges. So, So finally, I believe this is my last slide. So thinking like an engineer, limits to these approaches, whether it's for pandemics and like problems. So I hope for you to be aware of your mindset and the wonderful skill set that you bring to truly provide transformative solutions, but also to be aware of the limits of your mindset and to look beyond so that you can be a triple threat by integrating your mindset with the other mindsets. A few lessons from them combined with the skills that you have that are very difficult for others to import into themselves quickly. So thinking about these things, engineering that really advances technology. So there's engineering that we'd like to do, the traditional engineer that's tinkering in a workshop in the back room in the house, or now on your computer. I'm on my computer all the time. For really transformative technology, the prototype you can do with just a few people, but it's a big expert team and big money. And entrepreneurship has been a major innovation force, but not all problems that need solving offer a good business plan for solutions. And so when the inertia, that is, we've made changes and we've gotten too comfortable. So for example, now you're at home. It's very hard once you're at home to get people out of the home, regardless of what the data is telling you. And so it's important to be data-driven. Part of my research, I do a lot of sensor data fusion. And in sensor data fusion, we're combining data from many different places but all the data, in the end, all data is lying a little bit. And so you want to have the best estimation of the problem. And so keep in mind that all data is lying a little bit, but in the end, the law of large numbers is such that the data-driven solution is the best solution. Because even though all data lies a little bit, it lies a little bit this way, it lies a little bit that way. And so the more data you have and the more open you are to seeing the data, the wiser you can be. And so look at your responses and what solutions are supported by the data and which are not. And so there are many reactions and you see the changes. Oh, we should do this. We should do that. We should do these various aspects of the lockdown. So I'm going to avoid being controversial. So I won't mention any specifically. But when you look at the graphs and you see, well, here's where we put in this response, and here's what happened as a result. And you do it across many, many different experiments, many different states in India, many different states in the United States, many different cities. If a intervention worked, you would see a different graph where that intervention occurred eventually. So in one case, you might not see it, but there've been a lot of cases. And so I think some things have worked very well, and some things it's time to be honest and say they haven't worked. Another point, I think I've probably exceeded my time by 1 minute. So, so social good for an activity is a very social good from an activity is not directly connected to the involved technical effort. And so this is a barrier. It's not an impossible barrier, but you should something to keep in mind when driving the right expertise to the right problem. And social context awareness and expertise. So this is the point where I'll conclude with. So the social context awareness is something that is not hard for you to come by, but it's not your natural engineering mindset. And so, so although it's not your first strength, perhaps, it's very valuable, and it's a mindset that you can adopt much more easily than the sociologist can adopt your mindset. And so it's not easy for a sociologist to come up with to suddenly put on the mind of the engineer. And so we might look at problems and we see where's some technology we could technology the heck out of this problem. And my colleague, Dr. Prieto, his response to every problem, and I will gently tease him about that, is, well, we need a social program. and so keep in mind our mindsets and be looking like, well, where's your really best? Okay, Dr. Prieto, I'm not opposed to social programs as a solution, but you better pick for me your best social program. And how do you measure that best social program? Let's apply those together. And so that concludes thinking about engineers, thinking about an engineer, and from bringing in the social context and integrating the mindset. And I thank you very much for that opportunity to share that. And so I have moved on, and I think I'm pretty sure I used up too much time. And so I will not allow anyone to ask me any questions. However, I will add that I am most happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. And if you had a question, you could ask me. But in the meantime, anybody from the Kerala state, or particularly this IEEE Student Branch, MES College, I will accept your LinkedIn connection in the next week, I promise. So thank you for this opportunity to share the mindset. So should I go directly to the logo reveal, or is our chair going to speak first?
Ma'am, you can go ahead and reveal the logo, and after that, we've scheduled her talk.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so dun da da dun. I should have. Oh, wait, you do have music. Okay. I'll try it one more time.
Nijum, you're up.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for those valuable words and the talk. It was really inspiring, and I'm pretty sure we all had something to learn from it. As a small token of appreciation, we will be presenting a memento to Professor Kramer.
Thank you.
Now, let us hear from our respected guest of honor, Ms. Sarada Jayakrishnan. She's the chair of IEEE Kerala section. She was a nominee of 2014 R10 Y Best Professional Volunteer Award. She was also the past chair of the Women in Engineering Society of the IEEE Kerala section. Ms. Sarada has more than 25 years of experience in the manufacturing industry. She is currently heading the quality group of Termo Penpol. Ma'am?
Thank you, and good evening and good morning. Kathleen, I think it must be pretty early for you over there. Good morning. Dr. Tasneen, Dr. Varadarajan, Professor Labba, Kathleen, Basil, Abdul, and all my dear friends, other faculty members, IEEENs, thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this great event and also listening to someone like Professor Kramer, because she had touched on all the important aspects of why you need to be an engineer also. Okay, it's really what do you say, interesting that today morning I got a message from one of your alumni, Mr. Vijay Paul, who is currently in Melbourne and is with Monash University, who has actually done your logo in the first place in 2004. So this is indeed, I mean, he's a good friend of mine, and he reached out and said, oh, ma'am, you're going to be part of an event, and this is after so many years that a new logo has come up. And this is really interesting to see the logo, though I didn't fully understand what the change of identity has been. So logos are generally, they show the organizations and identity, and I understand you've brought in an umbrella wherein you're not only bringing in engineering, but leadership and creativity and many other things together as part of your very long-standing and vibrant volunteers that you are having. There are many people who have come to the Kerala section as leaders from your group, like Shahim Baker, who has been the secretary of Kerala section for 2 years earlier on. And also, I understand Karthik is currently the membership development chair. He's your alumni. And so that shows the long-standing activities that are being done and also how leaders are made by your SB. I was also made to know by Abdul that there have been close to 48 different activities. Either you have done it by yourself or you have collaborated with other groups within Kerala section. And that's really, really interesting. As Professor Kramer and many others said here, the pandemic has in that way helped us to collaborate more through these different platforms. I thought I'll just leave you with a few thoughts, some which already Professor Kramer has mentioned, a few from my experience also. basically the notion or the clarity that should be made in one's mind that we as engineers are provided with a framework to look for problems and then solve them in the most optimal manner and provide it to the society, back to the society. Now that is where IEEE really, comes as an aid for us. It is where we are provided with the best and the latest that is available in the technological world through research and through other data-oriented analysis that Professor Kramer was mentioning. At the same time, we look at the society or the community that is near you or the ecosystem that is near you and provide the most optimal solution. In that manner, if you really go through the IEEE Code of Ethics, we can see every bit that had been mentioned by Professor Kramer earlier, where when you look at the solution, it is where you're thinking not only from the most prominent technological innovations, but also in a way where you can ethically provide a solution with the knowledge and fully claiming that this is what is knowledgeable to us and this is the optimal solution that is available in the current scenario. So I really, I hope that everyone listened to Professor Kramer's talk in the real sense, because she was really teaching, being a great professor, I understand now, and have noted down the crux of it, where we are made to understand that as problem solvers, we provide the best of our understanding that we know. We reach out to the collaborative world of IEEE and other professional bodies and available notions to give back the best. I was going through the list of societies that you are already having, the IEEE societies and also the AG, and the wonderful work that is happening now. I would suggest, or rather a small request from your side, to have a side group within your community, the special interest group for humanitarian technology, which is actually one arm of IEEE, where you can really look at, identify problems and have projects maintained with the support of HAC and also the other collaborative models, including Kerala section, where you can really give back to the society. So I would urge the chair and also the EXICOM, the student EXICOM, to file a petition for a site group, because I don't see that in your, at least in the college portal. The last but not the least is very rightly mentioned that unless you can speak on what you're doing, nothing works. Okay, so communication is a key. Of course, you need to have the fundamentals, because we are engineers, professionals, the fundamentals have to be there. But unless you can speak right, make others experience, nothing works. So communication is the key, and you have really released the logo. That is also a medium of communication. It shows what your college is and what you are looking for. So let's all hope the budding engineers who are listening here and who are part of your college comes out to be passionate professionals, problem solvers, really giving back to the community, and keeps the identity. Those who are IEEE members, keep the identity of IEEE. We are all IEEE members by way of our identity, and we stand by being very ethical professionals. So thank you so much for giving an opportunity to be part of this event, and also it was great experience to listen to Professor Kramer. I wouldn't have had a chance unless you had given a platform. So Kathleen, please come to Kerala. It's a beautiful place. Even if you have to have a long journey, there are locations where you can break and come. I'm sure maybe in the coming years, MES and other colleges and Kerala section as such can give you a platform for visiting Kerala. So thank you so much and good luck everyone. Please stay safe. and let's meet again later. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your gentle words. Your words were truly delightful. As a token of appreciation, we will be presenting the memento to Sarada ma'am now.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, I invite Mr. Basil Aziz, Design Lead of IEEE SB MESCE, for the logo presentation.
Hi, thanks, Nujum. Hi, everyone. So let me see, make sure that my screen is visible to you first. Just give me a second. I hope it's working.
Yes, it's visible.
Thank you. I'm here to show you a few slides and to share some fun facts about our logo design. So for those of you who doesn't know who I am, I'm Basil Aziz. I'm the design lead of IEEE SB MESCE. So a few months back, our chair, student branch chair, Suhail P, asked me to design a new logo for the student branch. And at that time, I was really nervous about taking that task up, because the reason being, the previous logo has been around for the past 17 years. As you've heard, probably heard in the talks before, it was actually branded in 2004, and it's been around for 17 years. And yeah, it was really overwhelming to take up this task. And you can see that the logo that we had is pretty basic. It's just a couple of letters joined together, and also it was starting to show its age. Even the typeface used is really old. So in every sense, we needed a change. We needed a transition. So that's the initial point of discussion when we were thinking about changing the logo. And I just wanted you going into this, we had a blank canvas in front of us and just an idea. It was pretty simple, just we needed something, that would incorporate our college's unique features. So we decided to base our designs on the very famous Kuttipuram Bridge. For everyone in Kerala, I think most of them know about the Kuttipuram Bridge. It's actually a bridge between the south of Kerala and the north of Kerala. So it's pretty relevant, and also we needed something that would signify our college in general. So we have our buildings in our college are based on a Middle Eastern architecture. It has a dome structure on the top of the administrative block, and it's really it's significant. Like people going on the highway could see that dome half a mile away. So that's really significant. So how would we just incorporate all those things into a logo for our SB? That was the initial point of our thought, and our designers really worked really hard. I had a committee of 5 members who are really brilliant, and they really put everything they had into the project. And as you can see on the top left corner, you can see that's the first ever sketch that we did for our logo. And it transitioned from there. It started, gaining traction. And I would like to quote a specific line that I really liked, which is relevant to my presentation, that Professor Kramer had talked about in her talk. And that is, any hard task will not work the first time. And in this case, it didn't work the first time. It just didn't click. The logo in front of it just didn't click. So we just kept on improvising. And the best place for improvisation is the internet. So we just turned to the internet, and we just found this really cool logo of Cisco, which was inspired from the Golden State Bridge in California. So we thought, why not go that route and just use that kind of a design language to our logo? But it felt almost like stealing. So we thought that's not the logo that we are looking for. We needed something that's made from scratch by our team. So we just kept we just went back to the drawing board, and we just took a piece of paper, just scribbled everything that we know about the logo, and we just made a couple of versions of these logos. And one logo in that just clicked. That was the second one. You can see that I've highlighted that in specific. So that is the base of our design. That's from there we just improved the design, and then we got this, and then we turned it into this logo. And this is the logo that we designed and which was presented by Professor Kramer just moments before. So that's the entire journey that our team went through over the past 3 months for designing this logo. And you can see that's the Kuttipuram Bridge. I don't know how visible it is, but I can share with you some pictures after the event. So that's the Kuttipuram Bridge, and that's the the dome that I was talking about on top of the administrative block. So that's how that's the logo concept. And these are the brand colors, the colors that we used to design the logo. And these are the typefaces. These are how we would represent it in different type of, background situations, like in the darker backgrounds and the light backgrounds, how we would use the logo. And these are some mock-ups that we did, just to get a sense of what the logo would look like on different merchandise. So, this is the entire design committee, and starting from Abdul Majid, Shamil, Kenz, Afrad, and me. So that's the end of the presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Thank you.
Thank you, Basil. It was a great concept and idea.
Now, to deliver the vote of thanks, I invite Mr. Abdul Majid K, Vice Chair of IEEE SB MESCE.
Okay, thank you, Nujum. I think I'm audible. Yeah?
Yes, you are audible.
Good evening to all of you. As this event comes to a close, I take great pleasure in proposing the vote of thanks on behalf of IEEE SB MESCE on this memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's occasion a grand success. I thank all the dignified invitees present here for accepting our invitation and sparing time from their busy schedules to grace this occasion. First and foremost, I would like to extend special thanks to Professor Kathleen Kramer, Director and Secretary of IEEE 2021, for her thoughtful and inspiring speech. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to our guest of honor, Ms. Sarada Jayakrishnan, Chair of IEEE Kerala Section, for her words of encouragement. Next, I would like to give my sincere thanks to our Principal, Dr. A.S. Varadarajan, and Secretary, Professor P.O.J. Lebba, for their inspiring words and invaluable support. Your encouragement has constantly bolstered all our endeavors. I would also like to express my deep gratitude to Dr. Tasneem Fatima for her valuable contribution and guidance and encouragement in all our efforts. Next, I would like to thank Mr. Basil Aziz for his wonderful presentation. Next, I would like to thank design team of IEEE SB MESCE for their cooperation and relentless effort in making this function a great success. Next, I would like to thank Mr. Suhail P, Chair of IEEE SB MESCE, for his guidance and support throughout the event. Last but not least, I thank my fellow student volunteers for their cooperation and presence in making this function a resounding success. Once again, I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
If it won't be too much trouble, would you guys be able to switch on your cameras so we can take a virtual photograph? I'm going to click it in 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks to all of you who joined here for this occasional evening. You may now leave the meeting.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone. Congratulations. Very nice to have met each of you.
Thank you so much.